Right. Grand rising, powerful beings. It's the holistic motivator out here. I'm with the tribe. Hey, tribe, say hello to the people. We got Liz. Just say what's
Hello,
up.
hello.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, y'all, we're going live. Okay, so today we're gonna talk about the power of now, but we're gonna go into chapter 2, right? So, so we're gonna actually put it up, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just go through the chapter. Okay, I'm just gonna go through the chapter, and we're gonna discuss some of the topics, and from there we'll go from there. Okay. So I'm gonna pull up the book. So once again, The Power of Now is a book by Eckhart Tolle, and it really emphasizes on how important it really is to focus on the now. Now, while most here like live in the present, live in the present, stop living in the past, they don't really know how to do that, right? They don't really know what's the strategy to do that. They don't really know what the process, or they don't really know what that is, right? I've been in that point, and from time to time, even though I know it, I'm still don't act on it, right? So being in the now has been a cliche. Just be in the present, right? Just be in the present. How many times have you heard that one? Just be in the present, be in the now. But are they really in the now? So if you keep identifying, that's one of the major things that author talked about, is identification with your pain. Once you constantly identify with your pain, you keep perpetuating it. Okay? So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about that. Okay? So there we go. All right. So we're going to start with chapter 1. So chapter 2. So we reviewed chapter 1 last time. We're going to review chapter 2. So basically, I'm going to go through it. So let's read the first paragraph. Consciousness, the way out of pain. So the way out of pain is to be conscious, right? First, yes, the last time we spoke, I had said, get in touch with your responses to your pain bodies, right? The pain bodies of resentment, the pain bodies that cause frustration, the pain bodies of anger. I was like, get in touch with them. But to get out of them, you got to be conscious of them, but be conscious in the situation. So to create no more pain in the present, here's what it says. It says, nobody's life is entirely free of pain and sorrow. It isn't a question of learning to live with them rather than trying to avoid them. Okay? The greater part of human pain is unnecessary. It's self-created as the unobserved mind runs your life. So, here's the question I have for you. Does the unobserved mind rule your life? Or are you observing your mind and ruling your own life? Are you using your neocortex? The unobserved mind ruling your life is the subconscious mind automatically taking over the seat rather than your conscious mind driving the bus, right? So that's what the author's talking about in that section. So that was pretty interesting, right? So you don't want to be there, right? So on an emotional level, it is some form of negativity, right? It says here, the intensity of the pain depends on the degree of resistance to the present moment. So Omi and Liz, let me ask you a question. Have you ever found yourself resisting the present moment, whatever that means? Have you ever found yourself like resisting the present moment?
Yes, unconsciously making a decision, but then pulling myself back and not doing it.
So how does that look like?
You get emotionally pulled into it that you're going to go do something, and then intuition says, no, that's not a good choice. Just leave it alone.
So do you think that means that you are resistant to the present moment?
Yeah.
So because I mean, if your intuition
I'm
is
trying to
pulling
be in
you,
the present moment, but I'm being pulled into my thoughts are going unconsciously into emotional.
to the past,
Yeah.
to the. It's
But
like it's like giving.
Okay. Kind of like
I'm listening.
having a bunch of things to do, like on a list or a notepad. And instead of focusing and doing that one thing, being present, we're worrying about all the things that we have to do today. And then so now we start thinking back in the fact, dang, I never completed anything in the day. Each time I have a lot to do, I'm always stressed out. This is a lot. And when I get stressed out, I don't feel like doing anything. So I'm just not going to do anything. And you just think about the past and you're stuck instead of being
yeah.
present.
And then it wastes time instead of just focusing on one thing and saying, okay, let me go with this and feeling good about it. You're right.
Mm. It's like a hole. It's like a rabbit loop. It's like a rabbit hole. It's like it's like a rabbit hole. So it's like the more you feed into that is, I totally get it, and that's true. It's like when you say I'm gonna do this, but then you're like, man, why didn't I do it when you could just do it?
Yep.
It's like when you why over it, when you whying all over yourself, I like to call it. Why-ing all over yourself.
Why only?
Why you always, why you sometimes, why you never. That causes a steal of the present. Okay, so that's interesting. Boss man, put up your deal, man. But it's okay. Just in the backyard. Hey, what's up, boss?
Hello.
Hello.
You picking some trees, some leaves right here, you know.
Grand Rising.
Ya, bon bagay legrim map kase.
Oh, amen. Why won't you buy pour tout?
Pas de problème nou, pa faire soup,
Okay.
pas de danger.
I want some of that soup. Yeah, man. So let's bring the book back up. All right.
Liz,
So-
that was us speaking Chinese, by the way. Just pointing that out.
So, next question is, why does the mind habitually deny or resist the now? And the answer said, because it cannot function and remain in control without time, which is past and future. So it perceives the timeless now as threatening.
The ego don't want to die.
The ego doesn't want to die. It says it cannot function without time. That's interesting. Okay. So it's really time that kind of like steals the present from us. And by that I mean we are intertwined. Like we don't know what's happening now. By we, I mean the subconscious mind. And what has happened, because if we're living subconsciously, right? If we're living beneath the surface of a programming, then we don't necessarily know. It's like going under, right? It's like going under anesthesia or being in a sleepwalking state, right? Do you want to be in a sleepwalking state or anesthesia your whole life, right? So imagine if there were no humans and we didn't keep track of time and wasn't worried about when tomorrow's, every day was just the day. There was no dates. There was, like, let me ask you this question. If there was no dates, no times, no years, no months, how would your life look like?
Peaceful.
We would just be in the present.
Yeah. We'd be just living.
Like, nobody's gonna ask you, oh, what you doing on Monday?
See, that's how I like to live. I hate plans.
So that's kind of like, so would life be better without time?
I mean, to some extent, without the time, there would be a lack of, I guess, structure. And not really. I think life would be better without time, because I don't think time dictates what we do.
You just need some
What do you
discipline and
think
structure.
about that? What do you think about? Really, just think about that. What if we had no time? Would we be able to survive?
It
Like,
definitely
would we be
might
able to function and be productive?
I guess we would just form a different.
Like we have the sun still gonna come up. The sun's still gonna set.
That's true. The sun's still gonna come up. The sun's still gonna set. I don't know. I guess we'll just be more present about stuff. And I don't know. It's like it's kind of like impossible to remove it, kind of, sort of.
I mean, because time is hardwired into time is how the everything sinks in together. We just put a number in it. For instance, the sun governs the day, the moon governs the night. Even if there is time, they still show up at this location of the earth at this point and end up on this location of the earth at this point, right? Because it's still moving at the same pace. And our time is based on the cycles of the sun and the moon. So whether we get rid of time or not, the sun or the moon still run its course, living in the present.
Like your body clock. You wake up at a certain time. You get hungry at a certain time.
Yeah, exactly. Because our body clocks are aligned with the sun and the moon, and how. So, I'm saying that to say, even if we don't have a clock, still be able to tell time, because the time wouldn't go away per se, whatever that means. But so, if our minds can take over our lives when we're living out of our mind, living out of the past. So this is what it says. Imagine the earth devoid of human life, inhabited by only plant and animal. Would it still have a past and a future? Could we still speak of time in any meaningful way? The question, what time is it, or what's the date today? If anybody were to ask, it would be quite meaningless. The oak tree or the eagle would be bemused by such a question. What time? They would ask. Well, of course, it's now. The time is now. What else is there? Imagine if you said that to yourself constantly. Yo, the time is now. Of course, the time is now. What else is there?
Be happy
Right?
and
Because
enjoy
time
life.
is now. Yeah. Like, because I'm here now with you all having this. This is fun. This is amazing. Just discussing. And we
That's a powerful
be in it.
statement.
That is.
Yeah.
Real powerful statement out there. It gets you. It makes me like want to take action on whatever I want to do. Is like now, like because when we speak of goals or certain things that we want to accomplish, we think about in the future. Oh, at this time, this and that. But like, if you're just like, okay, I only have now. Like, the time is now. Like, what am I waiting for? The time is now. Let me go. So
That's
it
why they're
forces you to
saying
think.
live every life to your fullest. That's why they say that.
Live every single day to the full of it.
Yeah, like it's your last. Treat it like it's your last day. What do you want to do?
So let's read the next line. Listen to this. The mind to ensure that it remains to ensure that it remains in control. It seeks to continuously cover up the present moment with past and future. So it's like while you're sitting here, instead of just sitting here, all of a sudden your mind wandered to what happened yesterday or what's about to happen tomorrow, right? The mind wants to keep that identity. So what it does is it constantly seeks to take you out of the present moment and take you into a past situation or future demise. That's deep.
Yeah.
Right? Why is the mind this way? Questions that need answers. Why is the mind this way? Okay. So now let's go to the next one. If you no longer want to create pain for yourself and others, if you want to no longer add to the residue of past pain that still lives on in you, don't create any more time, or at least no more necessary to deal with the practical aspects of your life. Here's the question. How do you stop creating time? Realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Always say yes to the present moment. Say yes to life. Surrender to what is. Just like we just said, right? And let's keep going. The present moment is sometimes unacceptable, unpleasant, or awful. So let me ask you a question. What do you do when you are in a present moment and it's not really comfortable like that? Not every present moment gives you butterflies. Some of them bring bats. So let's look at the other side. What if you're in a present situation and it's really horrible? Should you be given a pass? Should you give yourself a pass to escape to the past or the future?
Yeah, you
Can
just
it be
gotta be
beneficial?
positive.
Hmm?
The way you
That's a great question.
respond, you gotta be positive. You gotta think of,
Yeah, I mean, that's the ideal,
That's
the
a
way you
great question.
respond. However, what if your pain bodies, your past and future takes over? It's saying, man, come on, get out of this situation, right? Because automatically, when you face that really uncomfortable situation, that consciousness sometimes just fly away from you,
Yeah.
and all and you find yourself living in the past again.
Yeah.
And you're like, I know better, but I can't get myself to do better.
and that definitely happens.
So
I
here's
guess
what the author
you give
said.
something to look forward to.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
But sometimes I'm in tough situations, right? And
Yeah.
instead of sometimes I get in tough situations, but instead of focusing on like, I would find myself saying, again, this situation happened again, but then I would create a future that looks great in front of me. So sometimes what got me to get back in the present was looking at a positive future. But I did it consciously. So here's what I mean. Let's say you're in the present moment, and for instance, one time I walked out and my car was gone. Now imagine you walk outside your house. I was at a point where I thought I had lost everything, right? I was retracting in life. I was finally getting back home and all this stuff, changing my life again, like switching up, transitioning. And I went outside and my vehicle was gone. All of a sudden, I felt so many emotions of blame, shame, like, bro, you should have took care of it, blah, blah, blah. Did somebody steal your car, blah, blah, blah. A bunch of things. Took me in multiple places. But then what really got me to get back in the present and treasure the moment was this. I was like, yo, in 5 years, this is going to be a testimony. I'm going to look back at this and said, yo, this is my story. I grew so much from this. This pain is going to be invested into somebody else's future. Boom. After I thought of it that way, same thing happened to me when I got evicted from my apartment. I had to see how the future can benefit off of the present moment. And I would look at the present moment, and instead of seeing the demise, I saw how this is making something of me. And it brought me back to treasure the moment by going in the future, but consciously. An unconscious travel to the future, back to the future, is subconscious travel, where it's demise. Like, oh, this may happen. It's an illusion of the future, that this crazy, you might never be able to get a car again. Boom, boom, boom. Your mind comes up with a bunch of options based on the past, hence back to the future. It's like you're going to the past and thinking it's the future that's going to happen, but not necessarily. Y'all got that one?
Like they're saying,
Yeah.
this all shall pass.
This all shall pass.
You know what
So-
the saying too is that, is this going to really matter a year from now? Because you're going through a problem, you really feel it. And then a year after you go, wow, I learned from it, but I got through it. And you don't have the emotions that are attached to it.
So
Right.
that is so true. That is so true. And look at this next line, Liz. It says, observe the mind. It is what it is. If it's unacceptable, unpleasant, off, it is what it is. Observe the mind. How the mind labels it, and how is this labeling process. This continuous sitting in judgment creates pain and unhappiness. So remember what I told you when I was looking at my car? No, when I was not looking at my car, and that was creating pain and happiness. How I labeled it determined whether I was living in the past or whether I saw a positive future that got me back to treasure the present. Right? But that's what the author is saying. If you watch it, if you watch the mechanics of your mind, you step out the resistant pattern and allow the present moment to be, this will give you a taste of the inner freedom from external conditions, the state of true inner peace. So there's power in seeing what it is and seeing what's happening within you, just observing the fact. That is, let me make sure I bring up the book. just so that way you can. Okay, so you have to accept. Last pain, dissolving the pain body. What does the author mean by dissolving the pain body? As long as you unable to access the power of now, every emotional pain that you experience leaves behind a residue of pain that lives on within you. A residue of pain that lives in within you. What do you guys think that means?
You have to be in the now so you can let go of the past.
True, that's true. Right? If you don't clean the dirt in that moment, if you don't wipe it off your mind by saying, "Oh, I threw some dust in there," then that dust accumulates, and over time, it starts building big stains, and it taints your mind, and it's stuck in you, and now you think you're it, which is the false identification process. So then the author says, this accumulated pain is a negative energy that field that occupies your body and mind. If you look at it as an invisible entity on its own right, you are getting close quiet to the truth. So a pain body is when you are escaping the present, creating a false future that may be of your demise, or living in the past, you program your mind, your brain, you program a pain body. That's the way that you respond when you get back in that situation. So that's what the author is talking about. He says there's two modes to this body: dormant and active. A pain body may be dormant 90% of the time, and deeply unhappy person, though it may be active up to 100% of the time. So let me ask you, is your pain how often is your pain body dormant, and how often is your pain body active?
Wow, that's interesting. Because it could be dormant for a while and then it could just come right back out.
Right? So at some point you might just be in present living, and then all of a sudden you find yourself reacting out of the past.
You got to learn to get past that, I guess.
Because anything can trigger it, right? Especially if it resonates with a pain pattern from the past. That's why I'm saying triggers, words.
You got to catch your triggers, because that's the problem.
Yes, you have to observe the triggers. You have to be the observer. That's what the author keeps talking about. So let me read this. It says, some people live almost entirely through their pain body, while others may only experience it in only certain situations, such as intimate relationships, situationships linked with past loss or abandonment, physical or emotional hurt, and so on. Anything can trigger it, particularly if it resonates with a pain pattern from your past. When it's ready to be awakened from its dormant stage, even a thought or an innocent remark made by someone close to you can activate it. This last tip, have you ever heard a statement from somebody and it just brought up a series of emotions? Like, they didn't say nothing crazy to you, but the way they said it, and because they said it so many times before, it brought about an emotional reaction where you almost felt like you lost yourself.
Yes. Because it reminded you of
Right?
something. It brought back past emotions. And they don't even know what they said.
Yeah.
It only hits you a certain way.
Exactly. It's like a hit, right?
Yeah, they don't
You
mean
feel
to do
it.
it. It's just something that brought up a memory in you.
Yeah. It brought up that pain body. So the pain body just switched from dormant now to active. Right? So here's what it says. When you thought you knew a person and you're confronted with this alien, nasty creature for the first time, you're in for a quiet shock. So it's like when you thought you knew yourself, and then when you thought you've grown so much, but like, I've mastered my anger. I'm not angry anymore. I'm good. That dormant pain body can just rise out of the ashes and take over. And you're like, who is this? That's that awakening pain body, according to the author's labels. So your pain body wants to survive. It wants you to remain in the past. just like every entity in existence. So if in reality we do time travel, y'all, because if we experience time based on our consciousness, when our consciousness go back in time, we are time traveling. Food for thought. Okay. So if the pain body can rise up and take you over, then your past self can come into your present self and over your entire body. And once that pain body has taken over, you want more pain. You become a victim or a perpetrator. You want to inflict pain or you want to suffer pain, or both. There isn't much a difference between the two. To inflict pain is to suffer the pain. Why isn't there a difference? That's why there's no difference. Because you're not conscious of this, you claim that you do not want pain. So there's a lot of people, let me put it this way. There's a lot of people who want to change, who want to make a change, right? And I'm not throwing any shots at anybody, right? But let's say somebody joined the tribe and they were very serious about that change. And they're starting to get the change. But as you start to really change, you start doubting yourself. Am I really gonna make this change? Really? I don't know. These people, they got a lot of energy for me. So when the pain body comes back up, oh, I'm this person. I'm negative. I can't do this. I'm not. Blah, 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 blah. You then your mind starts to figure out how many ways can I go back to how I used to be. How many ways can I shun this thing as well? So sometimes you would find people who start the process of change. They're getting all the results that they want, but their pain body is in opposition to their spiritual evolution. Your pain body can be in opposition to your spiritual evolution. It's like you found what you need, but you're subconsciously running away from your need, from your desire, from what you need. It's like you drop into the tribe or something, or community or anything. It doesn't have to be this tribe, whatever it is. Or you start doing your own process and you get on this road. You say, I'm not gonna have these relationships that's draining me. I'm not gonna focus on that. Boom. Then all of a sudden you find yourself saying, man, I don't know. It's like somebody gets a good guy as a boyfriend, but then they find a way to sabotage that good guy because they just believe that this good guy is gonna do something bad at some point. But that's their pain bodies coming back. So unless you face that pain and heal from it, that dangerous monster will keep coming back. So some spiritual teachings say that all pain is all illusion, and it is true, but the question is it true for you? Do you believe pain is an illusion? So here's it. Write these trilogies down. Observe it. Feel it. Feel its energy field within you, and take action to it. Observe, feel, and take action. Don't identify. The observe is not identifying. It's not I am this. It's I am experiencing this. The observations is not I am this. That's identification. I am this. Observation is I am experiencing this. So then it becomes in a higher dimension of consciousness, which is presence. Once you can say I am experiencing this, then the I am is the presence. The experience is the circumstance. So you're not the circumstance, you're the presence experiencing the circumstance. And the author then says you are now the witness or the watcher of the pain body. This means that it cannot use you anymore by pretending to be you, and it no longer replenishes itself to you. You have found your innermost strength. You have accessed the power of now. What do you guys think about that? You're getting stronger.
Powerful.
That's powerful, because if you use your inner strength, then you make the right decision. You're using your intuition. You're there at the now.
Yes.
That happened to me last night. I'm gonna be honest with you. I got a phone call. It brought me back, and I said, no, I'm gonna make a decision. My decision is to move forward.
Yes. So you was able to observe it. You were able to feel the energies
Yeah.
of what
And I'm
decision.
proud of myself because it was emotional.
Yes. And I truly believe that's where that growth happens. The growth doesn't happen when when the temptation does not arise, it happens when the pain body tries to come back up, and you're able to observe the pain body and yet eradicate it. That's the truth.
Yes.
That's
And
how
then
you
to
do
move past that pain, which is very difficult.
Yes. So what happens to the pain body when we become conscious enough to break our identification with it? When we say, man, that's not me. If unconscious creates your pain body, consciousness transmutes it. That's powerful. The more you're conscious of it, you're observing it, you're feeling it, you change it. Everything is shown by being exposed to the light. And whatever is exposed to the light becomes light. Just as you cannot fight the darkness, you cannot fight the pain body. Trying to do so would create an inner conflict and thus further pain. Watching it is enough. Watching it implies is accepting it as part of what it is at that moment. Say you feeling here and you have a lot of frustration. Just watch yourself being frustrated up until you can transmute it. Because if you're watching yourself being frustrated, after a minute or two, you're going to be like, this is ridiculous. I can change this. Identification. Wow. It has turned itself on and became empty life. Let's read from this. Boom, boom, boom. Stay present, stay conscious. Be an ever alert guardian of your inner peace. You need to be present enough to be able to watch and feel its energy. Then you cannot control it. It cannot control your thinking. How you build that watcher ability? The more you meditate, sit in silence, you observe yourself, you do like what we're doing, you get more and more as a watcher. Like I promise you, by doing qigong, I became better at watching what's happening within me. 100%.
Yes. And I've been watching my day and stopping to think about what's my next decision.
Exact. That's conscious living.
And I never did that. It's really educating me on my moving forward.
Because now you're living life consciously. So the more you are conscious, the more you unlink the pain body and you start to transmute it into what you want. So you got to remain conscious. Really what you say, you got to be conscious. So let's summarize the process. Focus attention on the feeling inside of you. Know that it is the pain body. Accept it that it is there. Don't think about it. Don't let the feeling turn into thinking. Don't judge or analyze. Don't make an identity for yourself out of it. Let me talk about this one right here. Don't think about it. Don't let the feeling turn into thinking. Some people get so woke that they get sleep. Some people get so woke that they start sleeping. And what I mean by that is you know too much, so now you have too much in your head. So now you're not being in the present. Here's what I mean by that. Let's say you realize, oh, I'm frustrated. And then you said, well, I'm frustrated because of that. Well, they did. Guess what you just did? You got yourself in a habit, a thinking loop, which will keep going to frustration. So when you when you think about it so much, you are doing the opposite. Observing it is like, ooh, this is what I'm feeling. Do I want to feel this way? How do I feel the different way? Those are the questions. Or how can I sit with this and just also be with it? The application of this takes a while. So don't make identity boom, boom, boom. Stay present and continue to be observer of what's happening inside. Become aware of not only of the emotional pain, but also of the one who observes, the silent watcher. So not only do you observe what the pain body is telling you, but you observe the observer? So you mean you could observe you observing?
You're observing how you're reacting.
Well, no, that's the first observation. The second observation is observing that you're observing how you're reacting. So it's like, if I'm observing how I'm like reacting with frustration, then I'm like, this is how I'm observing it. What if I turn my observation into excessive thinking? Then I could observe that I'm excessively thinking about my frustration. I hope I'm not confusing you.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's like a three loop. It's like, okay. Let's read this one. For many women, the pain body awakes. We only have 9 pages. We're almost done, y'all. Trying to be timely with. The pain body wakes, in particularly at the time preceding the menstrual flow. So if you're able to stay alert and present at that time and watch whatever you feel within, rather than be taken over by it, it affords an opportunity for a powerful spiritual experience, and a rapid transmutation of all past pain becomes possible. So what is this author saying? Author saying during your period, instead of
Yeah.
saying period.
I
Instead
know
of
you're
saying
sensitive and
period.
emotional.
Period.
Let me finish this statement right quick. I gotta finish this one. Instead of saying period and living out of your pain body, observe during your period. Okay, it started better in my head. You know, some people say period and they keep being angry, frustrated, stuck up, instead of using your period to sense what's happening within you and transmute it. All right. Anywho, your ego can also identify with your pain body when you think, "Oh, my pain body." Some people are afraid to change, not because they're afraid of what they'll get when they change, but they're afraid they'll lose who they were before the change. Some people, I'm not gonna be cool anymore if I start to be good or be conscious. Like, some people really think that it's more of a demise to transform their lives because they have never experienced it, therefore they are fearful of what was to come. So the resistance. Observe the attachment of your pain. We get attached to pain. Why would we get attached to pain?
So you get too comfortable.
Because it's familiar.
Yes.
Because it's familiar. Also
Like,
because your body, it's chemically ingrained in you, in your body. Remember what we learned about neural pathways?
It's an addiction.
Addiction, epigenetics, and yeah, chapter
addiction,
1 talked about
habits.
habits, all of those. So only you can do this. Nobody can do it for you. You know, this is what it says. It says, if you can find somebody who's really conscious, then you can be with them and join them in the state of the presence. This can be helpful and will accelerate things. And this way, your own light will grow stronger. Right? When a log that has only started and is burned is placed to the next one that is burning fiercely, after a while they're separated again, the first log will keep burning much greater intensity. So we do this for us. We all do this collectively every time we show up. Each of us are raising in our different consciousness levels. We're a log. We're burning. We got that fire within. And every time we come together, we are literally lighting each other up. And this helps a lot. That's why the tribe is one of the most effective ways to transform.
We light the fire every morning.
We light the fire every morning. And the roosters sing a song. Okay? So, yeah. So, you know, then I'll talk about the origin of fear. But let's read this. The reason why you don't put your hand in the fear is because, not because of fear, is because you know what you'll get burned. You don't need fear to avoid unnecessarily ginger, just a minimum intelligence and common sense. Like, after you've gotten the knowledge that you've been burned, or you've gotten told that you can get burned, it's not until you really experience it that you know in your mind that if I touch fire, I'm gonna get burned. Like a kid, they sometimes have to touch the stove and get burned before they really learn the lessons. The parent says, don't touch that, it's hot. But they're like, I gotta learn from myself. I gotta go learn from me. So intelligence and common sense often says, oh, let's not do this because this is what I'll get. Not necessarily because of fear is what the author is saying, which is interesting. Now, it says if someone threatens you with fire, then you might be experiencing something like fear because you're assuming what the result, the outcome is going to be, and your body feels that.
That's a good example of that. Is like God gives you so many warnings, and if you don't listen to them, you're gonna fall down, and something bad is gonna happen. He warned you so many times.
Yep.
I
Yep,
know.
that's a good example.
You understand what I'm
God
saying,
being that
right?
parent. Yeah, and I mean that kid who just want to test it out for ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay, we're almost done. 3 pages. So as long as you're identified with your mind, the ego runs your life. As long as you identify with your mind, the ego runs your life. And these fears. Fear has to have many causes. The fear of loss, the fear of failure, the fear of being hurt. But ultimately, all fear is the ego's fear of death, of annihilation. Like the fear of failure is that I'm gonna die in my status. The fear of loss is that I will have to grieve whatever I lost. The fear of being hurt is emotionally I feel like I'm being shunned or being stoned by your words. So it all sprouts from death. That's deep.
Yeah,
What y'all think about that?
that is deep. When you think about it, like the ego, the fear of death, fear of being gone, fear of being wiped out.
Yep.
It makes sense. Annihilation.
They said one of the biggest human drives is to survive.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
You put on your survival mechanism.
So that's why some people try to be defensive out of fear because they're trying to survive and they think that when your words will annihilate
That's
them.
why when you're going through problems, you get defensive with someone and they didn't even do nothing to you. But since you're going through something, it's coming out of you. So you're the one with the problem.
Right. And I never thought about it that way too. No,
That's why you
that
forgive
part is very
people.
helpful.
That's why you forgive people. You don't go into their state of mind because you never know what kind of day they're having.
Yep.
Exactly. Forgive them
That
for they
part.
don't know what they're doing.
If
Yeah.
you could see, since we're so conscious of that, we could see that they don't know what they're doing. So you kind of like try to step back.
And you can see that when you try to be wrong, when you try to be right in wrong situations.
Yeah.
That has to
Yeah.
do with that. So the author then says once you disidentify from the mind, whether you're right or wrong makes no difference to your sense of self at all. So the forcefully compulsive and deeply unconscious need to be right, which is a form of violence, will no longer be there. You can state clearly and firmly how you feel and what you think, but there will be no aggressiveness or dismissiveness about it. Your sense of self is then derived from a deeper and truer place within yourself, not from the mind. Watch out of any kind of defensiveness within yourself. What are you defending? An illusionary identity? An image in your mind? A fictitious entity? By making this pattern conscious, by witnessing it, you disidentify from it. In the light of your consciousness, the unconscious part of the pattern will then quickly dissolve. This is the end of all arguments and power games, which are corrosive to relationships. Power over others is weakness disguised as strength. True power is within and it's available to you now.
Deep.
That's deep, bro. I let go of my need to be right more and more. I still see the pain body comes up, right? It
Yeah,
still
the
comes
pain
up
body
from time
comes
to
up
time,
and you try
robs
not to
me,
get defensive
right? And sometimes you do get defensive,
because
but
that's
then you have to
natural.
observe.
That's human nature.
You gotta observe it and then transmute it. But the more like I applied more of this when I'm talking to people. Sometimes it sounds defensive, but in my mind, I'm always trying to just not prove a point. I'm trying to just show them my side, kind of. So I've evolved in that way, and
And it
still
works if
evolving.
you're talking to someone who's open minded and they they respect your opinion. You might not agree with them, but they respect and learn from your opinion and your knowledge.
Exactly.
But not everybody
So
does that.
last, I mean, you have to grow to that level.
Yeah, because right
So
away,
anyone who
everybody's
has,
right. We all make mistakes. We're
Mhm.
not right every day.
Exactly. So anyone who has identified with their mind and therefore disconnected from their true power, their deeper self, rooted in being, will have fear as their constant companion. The number of people who have gone beyond mind as yet extremely small. So you can assume that virtually everyone you meet and know lives in a state of fear, or only the intensity of it varies. It fluctuates besides anxiety, dread in one other scale, and a vague unease and distant sense of threat at the other. Most people become conscious of it only when it takes a more acute form. Okay? So most people are living in fear, and I know that you're not gonna be most people because you're stepping into your power. So don't let your mind be run by the ego. The secret of life is to die before you die. It's to step into spiritual body before you actually embody it entirely. You know when you say I'm not a carnal being, I'm a spiritual being? That's
Yep.
dying before you die. That's when you made a decision that I'm not just skin and bones, I'm a spirit. And I'm not this ego, I'm way greater than that. That's what I really believe the author meant.
And that's
So
how
with
you
that,
walk in peace. That's how you become peaceful.
yes,
You gotta die to yourself.
that's right.
That's what
And
Jesus said, baby.
yes, sir. So that is chapter 2 review of The Power of Now, y'all. That was pretty fun.
Thank you.
Going
That was
through it.
great.
I loved it. I loved the way we interacted and communicated. Pretty powerful. So for those of you watching the replay to this video, tap in, read chapter 3. Omi, you're already on chapter 4, but read chapter 3. And then next week, we're going to discuss it. And then we'll get to chapter 4, so on and so forth. So we're going to be listening to it. At some point, I'll play it at 6:30 to 7. And then you can listen to it by yourself. And then you'll be able to we'll review chapter 3 next week. All right. So with that being said, YouTube, I'm going to let you go. Omi, and don't go yet. I'm going to say bye to you, but let's this one click play. This is how I close out the YouTube, so it's all good. All right, y'all.